This is our project on states' rights. States' rights are political powers reserved for the U.S. state governments rather than the federal government according to the United States Constitution, reflecting especially the enumerated powers of Congress in the 10th Amendment. In 1787, delegates represented states' governments that became autonomous centers of powers. The Constitution avoided a precise definition of the locus of sovereignty, leaving people to infer that the new charter created a divided structure in which powers are allocated between central government and the states in such a way that each would be supreme in certain areas.
The Missouri Compromise in 1820 tried to solve the problem that succeeded only temporarily. It established lands west of the Mississippi and below latitude 3630 as slave and north of the line, except Missouri as free. Abolitionist groups sprang up in the North, making Southerners feel that their way of life was under attack. John C. Calhoun became as extreme in his devotion to the strict construction of the United States Constitution as he had earlier been in his support of nationalism in the 1830s. In the summer of 1831, he openly avowed his belief in nullification, a position that he had anonymously advanced 3 years earlier in the essay South Carolina Expedition and Protest. Each state was sovereign, Calhoun contended, and the Constitution was a compact among the sovereign states. Therefore, any one state, but not the United States Supreme Court, could declare an act of Congress unconstitutional.
Proponents of the nullified measures, according to the theory, would then have to obtain an amendment. The Constitution, which required a two-thirds vote of each house of Congress and ratification by three-fourths of the state, confirming the power of Congress to take such action. As long as the North and South had an equal amount of slaves holding states, the two regions had equal representation in the Senate, and neither could dictate to the others. However, each new territory had applied to statehood threatened to upset this balance of power. Andrew Jackson proclaimed federal power over the states' rights. Jackson said America's Constitution formed a government, not just an association or group of sovereign states. South Carolina has no right to cancel a federal law or withdraw from the Union.
In the 1980s, President Reagan agreed with the public that the federal government was too involved with the state government affairs. As a result of a major focus of his administration was to reduce the size and power of the federal government. States were given more authority to experiment with policy, especially with programs which had previously been directed from Washington. Subsequent administration follows suit in the early 2000s. A new trend afoot. Both Republicans and Democrats were pushing for laws that would prep state laws, especially state laws that attempted to regulate financial corporations and other types of businesses.